9. Today we are going to start with Buddhism. It was believed that Gautam Buddha was the founder of Buddhism in India. Let us reflect back to the early life of Buddha. It was believed that Buddha was born in 563 BC in the Lumbini Tarai, Kapilavastu district of Nepal. His father, belonging to the Shakya clan of the Kshatriya tribe, and therefore sometimes he has been referred as the Shakya Muni also. The legend goes as when Buddha was born, his father called an astrologer to predict his future. The astrologer predicted that this boy is not going to be a king, he is going to be a great man. So this thought of the astrologer haunted his father, because at that time the kingship was hereditary and he thought who's going to be the next heir to his throne. So therefore he made this boy Siddhartha or Gautam with all comforts and luxuries in the palace. But these comforts and luxuries did not suit him. He was more inclined to philosophical ideas and views. So he held a meeting. The courtiers suggested that if you get him married, his attention will be diverted and he will be busy in the family life. So Gautam was married at a very early age to a princess called Yashodhara, from whom he had a son called Rahul. But still, this thing did not work because he was not inclined to household affairs or education or other things. His mind was inclined towards philosophical ideas and views. So it was a daily practice that every evening he used to have a round to the kingdom with a charioteer. One day he saw an old man bent down and walking with a stick. He asked the charioteer, "What is this?" So he said, "Young prince, you will also come to the same fate one day." Second, he saw an old man groaning with pain, and it was very pathetic. Thirdly, he saw a dead man and he was moved with what is the destiny of man. And finally, he was consoled when he saw an ascetic. So this is known as the four sights that changed the mind of Gautam in search of truth. So what happened? One night when everyone was asleep, he got up, left his wife and children and went in search of truth. And this event in the history of Buddhism is known as the Great Renunciation. That means renounce the world, leave the world, worldly affairs. So this event is called the Great Renunciation. After leaving his home and wandering from place to place in search of truth, he went to Rajgir. There he studied under many of the gurus, and finally he came back to Bodh Gaya and sat under a peepal tree and meditated for years. It was believed that he reduced himself to a mere skeleton, and the day came when he was 35 years of age. A true light dawned on him and he became a Buddha or an enlightened one. Therefore, you can see beside where Buddha preached, still in Bodh Gaya, you can see the Mahabodhi temple constructed much later after the death of Buddha, and the peepal tree where he meditated is now known as the Mahabodhi tree. It is a great historical importance. After that, Buddha went preaching his religion to far and wide, and he went to Magad to preach his religion, and it is believed that Buddha delivered his first sermon at Sarnath in Varanasi, and at that time in the presence of 5 ascetics. And this event is known as the Dharma Chakra Parivartan, or the turning of the sacred wheel of law. After that, Buddha traveled far and wide in Kosi, Bhagat, teaching his religion and doctrines of Buddhism. And finally, it is believed that Buddha attained nirvana or Mahaparinirvana at the age of 83 in 483 BC. And in Kushinagar in Varanasi. And his mortal remains were taken by his followers and they erected 8 different mounds, which is known as the stupas, the very famous Sanchi stupa you may know. And also Buddha is called the Tathagat, that means the knower of truth, one who knows the truth. So this is just the brief outline about the early life of Buddha. So today we will take up with the Buddha's teachings. What are the doctrines of Buddhism? So first we have the 4 noble truths. What are 4 noble truths? Number 1, the world is full of sorrow and sorrow has a cause. Second, and the sorrow can be removed by killing the desires, and the desires can be killed by following the Eightfold Path, or known as the Ashtanga Path or Eightfold Path. So what are these Eightfold Path? Let us analyze. First is right action. So Buddha believed that right action, that means luxurious living, comfort, as it has no meaning in life, and to practice non-violence, that is called right action. Second is right thought. Buddha believed that this sacrifices and empty rituals are meaningless. So you should have a pious thought or a holy thought to have a simple and meaningful life. Thirdly, we have that is reject a right belief. Buddha said you should have right belief, give up desire, give up want. So have a right belief, faith in the Almighty. Next is right living. Buddha said one should live a right and peaceful life. That means he should not do any harm to others or not with dishonest dealings. He should be fair in dealing with everyone. Then right speech. Buddha believed that truth is the one which comes late but it is eminent. That means you should always speak the truth. That is there. Then right effort. Buddha said you should have right effort. That means you should always think for the welfare for the others, not for your own self, but welfare for the others. Then right recollection. That means you should be pious with your thought, holy. Your mind should be spiritual and have right recollection. That means holy thoughts. Then finally right meditation. Buddha said you should meditate and do what is right for a common man. So this was Buddha did not lay more stress on severe penance and austerity, but he told to follow the middle path, or known as the Eightfold Path. That alone will reach man's destiny from birth to death. Clear? Now next we have, that is called, his next philosophy is karma, or the karma theory. Buddha believed that as you sow, so shall you reap. Man's fate depends on his actions, or the karma. That means if you do good actions, you will return back the good to you. If you do good things to others, the good things will come back to you. That's why he believed in the karma theory. Clear? Then we have stress on morality. Buddha believed the stress on morality. That means lead a very simple and moral life based with virtues and morals, condemning all the rituals, caste systems and social distinctions. Then the third one is nirvana. Buddha believed that the ultimate aim of man's life is to attain nirvana or moksha. That means freedom from the cycle of birth and death. So it said one can achieve nirvana by following the Eightfold Path or killing the desires. Then the next one we have the universal brotherhood. So Buddha believed in universal brotherhood. That means everyone is equal. There is no high and low. So he tried to bring every sections of the society in a single platform. That means it should be no high, no low, no caste, no creed, no barrier of caste creed should be there. So he invited every sections of the society, people to come and join his religion. That is, he followed the universal brotherhood among all classes of people. We have no faith in rituals and sacrifices. Buddha condemned the rituals, the yajnas and the sacrifices. Like in the ancient times, I told you, in the Vedic period, the animal sacrifice was common. So he condemned the empty rituals and sacrifices which were meaningless. He said, one can lead a simple and holy life by following the eightfold paths. So he condemned all empty rituals, sacrifices and ceremonies. So he had no faith in rituals and sacrifices. Finally, he believed in ahimsa, that is non-violence, not to injure or kill anyone. So one should not harm others. They should have compassion for all human beings, whether it is high or low, and no killing or animal sacrifices or not harming others, one, or not making others advantage and taking your own good. So he believed in ahimsa or non-violence. And this ahimsa was later on adopted by Mahatma Gandhi and led India and the national movement of free India from the clutches of the British. So today's section we have only the teachings and models of Gautam Buddha. Coming next we will describe about the comparison between Jainism and Buddhism and what are the impacts of Jainism and Buddhism. We'll be dealing in the next topic. Till then, be safe, take care, go through the topics and the assignment given. If you have any doubt, please contact me. Have a good day. God bless you.